next guest says Trump has turned his back against free trade and globalization, resulting in what she calls a new world order. With us now for more live from Tokyo is EY-Parthenon Asia-Pacific Strategy Execution Leader Nobuko Kobayashi. Ohayo gozaimasu, Nobuko-san. Welcome to the program.
Ohayo gozaimasu, Kathy-san. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
So given what's gone on since April 2nd, when you were here in Manila, and how the trade wars just escalated over the past week and how that's been walked back over the last 24 hours, how close are we to standing at the precipice of a global recession?
Well, I think with the twists and turns and the pause on the tariff on the reciprocal side, I think we're maybe a little bit relieved. But that said, the basic fundamental direction change of the U.S. of turning its back against a global trade is unchanged. So I think that still the world is in a turmoil and embracing for more unpredictability. So unpredictability is the enemy of businesses because we can't make investment decisions, we can't plan for future. Therefore, the recession is kind of aligned with the uncertainties.
True. That's so true that businesses do not like uncertainty, but China has in the last 48 hours decided to take an assertive posture, pledging to fight until the end. But China will certainly need to find new markets. What then is the risk of China dumping the excess products in Asia or in the ASEAN?
I think that that concern is very real, Kathy. And then the fact that the tariff remains very high from China into US does mean that there will be a realignment of the trade flow. So the Chinese very price competitive goods and second, sort of the interim material may be flooding Asian countries, which would be competing with the local players.
Right, which brings us to the permutations, what happens now to China plus one, and the usual partners, China plus Vietnam, China plus Thailand. Now that these ASEAN neighbors are hit with relatively higher tariffs than the Philippines, do you think the Philippines can step up to fill the void of China plus one?
I think there's a possibility because of these uneven tariff rates imposed across Asia, well, across the world. And Philippines right now seems to stand at a relatively favorable rate. Of course, there's uncertainty, so nothing can be said, but I think there is a little bit of a window of opportunity for Philippines to step in and eventually replace China or China plus one strategy, the positioning, but it would depend on how the industrial policy of the Philippines will be articulated and executed. That would take a long time. So again, coming back to the initial comment about the uncertainties, this is a looming cloud.
We've got about a minute, Kobayashi-san. Just the strategies that you mentioned. I know that you proposed to corporate leaders to take on two strategies. One is defense and the other offense. So what exactly do these strategies entail?
Sure. On the defense side, I think there is flexibility in countermeasuring some of the tariff movements, and that doesn't necessarily involve rerouting or the major reinvestment into new production facilities. There's things you can do with the transfer pricing, duty planning, and so forth. So the first line of defense should be looking into these without the massive physical capex type of projects. Now, on the offense side, there are a new alignment in the world order that we discussed. So there will be newly strengthened bilateral relationships that would incentivize companies to invest in other countries outside the US. So we cannot be just looking at the US, and we need to be looking at elsewhere as well. Of course, in the US, there's incentives to invest. So it doesn't, this overhaul of the assumptions doesn't mean that there's no opportunities.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for the actionable insights there, Nobuko-san. Arigatou gozaimasu. Nobuko Kobayashi of EY-Parthenon Asia Pacific Strategy Execution Leader joining us from Tokyo.